So how does a young guy go from just growing up and then all of a sudden wanting to get into working with financial instruments?
I always wanted to be actually in the media, doing stuff on camera, whatever that entailed, really into sports.
All right, this is Scout Business Podcast. I got my man Hunter. He actually does funding for small businesses, so we're going to get right into it. Thank you so much for being with us on the podcast.
It's a pleasure.
So what exactly do you do?
Yeah, so here I am a business development officer. My main primary objective is to get people financing. They come to me with their request. I listen to them, try to make sense of it, get to the bottom of their need, and then take them through the whole process as far as collecting their documents, doing our due diligence with the numbers to find a financing solution for them through our various programs, or if it's not through us, through our Entrepreneur Ecosystem that also provides some great resources and financing options.
How long has it's the Entrepreneurial Ecosystem. How long has that been in place?
Yeah, that was first launched in 2021 by our director of EE, Brian Kennedy Jr. Forget the junior part. And since it's grown into this incredible community, we like to say it's capital, coaching, and community options for these people. We got CPAs, bookkeepers, legal experts, bankers, even angel investors in that app. So we really have some fantastic resources for those people. Additionally, we are partnered with the SBDC, Small Business Development Center. They provide free business consulting for any entrepreneur in any stage of their business, from startup to succession, essentially.
What would you say would be like? Well, let's back up. How did you get into the business? Like what? Because you're a young guy. So
Yeah.
how does a young guy go from just growing up and then all of a sudden wanting to get into working with financial instruments?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. I always wanted to be actually in the media and doing stuff on camera, whatever that entailed, really into sports. So I first wanted to get into that field. Then I had a family member reach out to me and say, hey, I have someone, their name's Hilda Kennedy. They're trying to get more interns involved with AnPAC. So I thought about that and I was interested, but I was still kind of doing my own thing.
What were you doing? Like what sports were you playing?
So baseball, football, up until first year of college, but I really wanted to get into like sports media.
Okay, so that was what college did you go to?
Bakersfield.
Bakersfield. Okay.
Bakersfield, yeah.
All right. So you went to college, and then a young lady by the name of Kennedy?
Yeah, so her name's Hilda Kennedy. She's the president of AnPAC.
He went straight to the top.
Well, yeah, that's right. A family member said, hey, I got a friend, Hilda, really looking for some interns. Would you be interested? So I eventually took up the offer, started doing marketing for the ecosystem, really helping Brian build it intentionally with the heart too. And it was an incredible experience working under Brian in the ecosystem as an intern. Then it got to the point where I think that we just got a massive amount of loan requests and we really needed to be hands-on, give them that hand-holding experience that they deserve. So I transferred into that role of looking at the applications, vetting them for eligibility and whatnot.
So from being an intern and initially just wanting to do the marketing, you transitioned into actually looking at more deals and you said, and then that's an interesting time. You said 2021? Mm-hmm. So that was right after, all that.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't want to say it because then sometimes you get flagged, but
yeah.
When we were coming out of, America was transitioning where people were traveling and because things were limited, but then as we started transition, that's when you started to get more into business.
Yeah, exactly. It was interesting time, but the great thing about the mobile app is we intentionally made it for people to use anywhere, anytime. Throughout the whole state of California, we got it mapped with resources, so no matter where they were at, they could get those good resources at their disposal.
So it's AnPAC.
Yes, sir. AnPAC Business Capital, yeah.
AnPAC.
Yeah.
See, I was always calling it AnPAC.
Yeah, no, we get that a lot, but yeah.
So you guys work with small businesses. My biggest question is What do you see as far as the gap that people have when they're looking for financing or when they're looking for funding? What are some of the things that hold them, like prevent them from getting to the next level based on your experience?
Yeah, I think biggest thing to us is they need to understand net profit. It's great. Businesses can be successful in people's eyes without having net profit be good enough for our lending, essentially. But it's really important for them to understand net profit because a lot of lenders are cash flow lenders. And that's one of the biggest things that hold people back, I would say. As far as...
Let me ask you this. In the most simple terms, what is net profit?
Yeah, so after all expenses, deductions, COGS, of course, cost of goods sold, after all that's accounted for, it's what's left on the plate, really.
And then how does a business show proof of that?
Well, obviously, financial statements, balance sheet, profit and loss statements. It's really important to have a good bookkeeping software or a bookkeeper. The good thing about AnPAC is, like I said, we have a lot of great professionals in there that are willing to help entrepreneurs in one, a quick manner, and two, in an affordable way.
So the app, they can tap into resources to help them.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like, because I feel like a lot of times, and even me myself, I have a business. A lot of it is just documenting all of your expenses.
Yeah.
So basically net profit is everything that's after expenses once it's all said and done.
Absolutely.
And then you guys have a mobile app that people can tap into.
Yes, sir.
What is the name of the app?
So it's actually an acronym, ABCEE. AnPAC Business Capital Entrepreneur Ecosystem. But if you just search AnPAC on the App Store, you'll be able to find it that way too.
So you guys are on the App Store?
Yes, sir, and the Google Play Store. So
got it.
Yeah.
So AnPAC. All right, so you guys have an app, AnPAC the app, and they can tap into resources, and then you guys have people that can help fill in the gaps. And then also too, I've been learning a lot about taxes.
Yeah.
So that's another question I have. So typically when a business is ready to get funding, like are they in year 1, year 2, year 3? Like what have you seen as far as like success rates and where they're, where businesses are at when they come to you?
Right. So if it's a seasoned business, we're talking 3+ years in business. We're going to get 3 sets of tax returns. We're going to look at year 1, year 2, year 3, and we're going to assess the health of the business and see if we have positive trends, negative trends. If there's negative trends, we want to get to the bottom of why, personally. Not a deal killer, not a loan killer at all, but definitely want to understand.
What businesses have you seen do very well, like come into AnPAC? Like, is it more restaurants? Is it more like construction companies? Is it people that have like brick and mortar, e-commerce? Like, what have you seen on your end?
Greatest thing about AnPAC, unlike other lenders, we don't have any industry restrictions at all. It's really incredible. We do see some great stuff from local manufacturers, of course, people in the healthcare field. Those are some big hitters, but really serve any kind of business. Fantastic.
Now, I've been doing research on microloans.
Yeah.
And they go from anywhere between $5,000 and $50,000.
Yes, sir.
Now, would you say that as a small business, should they just start out with $5K, $10K? Because like there's a lot of information online, and I know you see these guys that are selling courses on how to get funding and these high limit credit cards, where they're talking about 40, 50, 60,000. But from your experience, like what if a small business wanted to get a microloan or get a little bit of capital to insert it into their business? Like what would you say would be a good dollar amount just starting out?
Well,
like should somebody go for the 50 or just start out with?
I'd say don't sell yourself short when you're applying for a microloan. Truly look at the numbers and think of an amount that makes sense for your business. Don't sell yourself short at all in any way, truthfully. It's case by case, of course, but we do, look at cash flow. If 50,000 cash flows to our standards, and the request makes sense, like nothing, no nonsense kind of thing will totally.
Now, I've been talking to Hunter a little bit about, so say you get the funding and your business is starting to move in the direction it needs to. We even talked a little bit about getting a building. Mm-hmm. So how does a company go from, say, getting a microloan and fulfilling their obligation on that to actually like going about getting funding for like say a little building, like even if it's like commercial, like what would be the transition into that? So I'm trying to give y'all the straight game. A lot of people are charging for this information. So reach out to my guy Hunter. We're going to put his information in the link. We're going to have like all his information down in the details. But so how does a business fulfill their loan and then transition into actually getting like into like a building?
Yeah, well, first thing is stay in contact with your lender. People like us, we handhold them all the way. The goal, as Brian mentioned earlier, we want to get a business owner to surpass 6.5 million in net profit, which is the SBA's size standard. That's anything below 6.5 net would be considered a small business in the government size. So really stay in contact with your lender. Something that all lenders do is request yearly financials. That's really important. We look closely at those. Once again, look at trends, see if more capital would make sense for them, and if they're doing well, there's a good chance that more capital would fit in there. But again, it's really case by case thing, and yeah, that's what I got.
So would you say like so say you fulfill your microloan, what would be the next step?
Yeah, so the next step for us would be a previously called a community advantage loan. It was a pilot program launched by the government in 2011, I would say. Just recently, pilot has turned into just kind of a lower dollar 7A program. This is for businesses who, one, may be disadvantaged in some way in the eyes of the SBA, which it could be minority business owners, it could be people in underserved areas. It's a really good product.
What's it called?
The SBA 7A program.
So you fulfill the microloan, then you can transition into the SBA 7A.
Right.
And then you can really get into how you're trying to scale.
Exactly. Yeah. The 7A program, it goes up to $350,000, and that's really standard across the board for most CDCs and CDFIs like us. There are lenders that do 7As
When you say CDIs?
CDFIs.
CDFI, what does that stand for?
Community Development Financial Institution. We got the designation a few years ago. Really an emphasis on underserved communities. It allows us to actually do the hands-on technical assistance and additionally pair up with other organizations that help develop communities too. So it's a really great initiative, and it's an obligation to serve those who are underserved, those who are traditionally barred from typical financing.
Well, that's another question. Like, what makes you guys different from like a Chase or a Wells Fargo or Bank of America?
Yeah.
Like the big lenders.
Yeah. So eligibility criteria is a lot more favorable for business owners. I'm talking lower FICO score requirements, lower cash flow requirements, lower gross income requirements. They're a lot tighter with that. CDFIs and CDCs like us have the honor to do these, I guess, quote unquote, higher risk loans backed by the government. So,
and that's dope, man. Are you mostly on Linktree, or do you do like social media? Like,
I'm working on it, and this is gonna be first video I'm posting.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna be pumping them out.
Yeah, shout out to the podcast, Scout Business Podcast. We're growing, and we want you guys to grow with us. And my man Hunter, he's trying to help small businesses, so be sure to tap in with them. But for now, your Linktree is probably the best, right?
Yeah. You can find me on Instagram, Bell in Business, LinkedIn. You look up Hunter Bell, you'll see my face.
Man, you got like a business name, Hunter Bell, because I got like that sounds like a bit. Yeah, my boy Hunter with the businesses,
Yes, sir. Or I like to say, hey, Hunter, I'm on the hunt right now.
That's right. I'm scouting for business. I'm scouting for fragrances. Hunter's hunting for new small businesses to help out.
That's right. Last name's Bell. Give me a ding.
Yeah, Bell. Yeah, the Bell icon. Like, share, comment, subscribe. My other question is like, what success stories have you seen? Like, that's like, because everybody wants to know, okay, like, y'all got all this money, but who actually, like, can you give us an example of a business that you guys have kind of like walked through the process and helped them get going?
There's been a lot, and it's such a great experience, especially with startups. Those are probably the most, overlooked people, in my opinion. There's very few lenders that'll take the risk on startups, pre-operational startups. We had a shaved ice business, came to us with a great idea, great vision. They clearly believed in themselves, and we got them the necessary equipment they needed, the working capital they needed to get them on the street selling shaved ice.
Which is like a simple idea, but now keep in mind we're in Southern California and the weather is relatively good, but it does get hot because you guys are in the Ontario, California area, so it gets hot out here. So having shaved ice, I mean, think about it. It's like selling water. It's like another form of water.
Yeah,
so it makes sense.
Yeah.
So were they in year 1, year 2? Like, how far along were they? Like, you don't have to give us the whole play, but I'm just like, how far along were they before you guys decided to say, hey, look, we're going to partner up and help you guys get going?
You know, they were in the pre-operational phase. It really was an idea. I worked with them to turn that idea into just a strong business plan. You know, I worked with them many hours, and it's something I really take a lot of pride in, is getting these people what they need, giving them the answers that they need, because a lot of other lenders, they just hear dollar amounts, money, let's make this loan happen, whatever, but people need that extra assistance. Because starting up a business, I mean, I haven't done it, but it's very stressful, anxiety-inducing. It's a big thing. It's, you know, they want to put food on their plate, shoes on their feet, a roof over their head for their family, and that's really what we think about. That's kind of the AnPAC difference, and it's what sets us apart, I'd say.
Would you say that, so for me, right, like I have my LLC, I have my EIN, I'm filing my business taxes. How far along does a business need to be before they start reaching out to you? Like, do they need to be at least kind of have their, their business, LLC, their name, the trademark? Like, how far along do they need to be?
Great thing about us is we help people where they actually haven't set up an LLC. I get a call, hey, I'm about to start up this business, working on my LLC. Just wanted to kind of start the process, essentially. So we have a gentleman here. He's the small business development coordinator. He's a good person to send people to when they're in that phase of just setting up basic registration documents, EINs, any type of insurance they may need. You know, if there's a vehicle involved, commercial insurance, all that kind of stuff. Really important. But truthfully, wherever they are in the process, we will work with them and try to make it happen.
Okay. So again, Hunter is on Instagram. We're going to leave his information on screen. My last question is, if you had advice to give to like aspiring entrepreneur, like say, like, cause my big thing is like, do they need to go all in or can they transition? Cause there's a lot, let's be real, like people have jobs, they got families, like you said, they got to put food on the table, they got to put their shoes on their feet and the basics. So going from say working a traditional job and then trying to be an entrepreneur, like what, do they need to go all in or where would you start? Like what would you tell them the first thing they need to do?
I used to think you just have to take that leap and jump and do it and go all in. But the more I've worked here, the more I realize that you got to take your time, really be intentional about what you're creating, because you really got to set it up right. Just from personal experience, I have created a business in my lifetime a few years ago. I was just ready to go. I got to do this. I got to do it now because I felt that pressure, like now or never kind of thing. But it's really not like that. You got to be intentional with how you're shaping this business. You got to go back to the drawing board a lot of times. Having some sort of mentor is always important. Of course, someone that has a lot of knowledge, who's been in the shoes of wanting to take the leap. Again, we have a lot of those people in our ecosystem, a lot of great coaches, and SBDC too. They're a fantastic organization to reach out to when you're thinking about making that jump. You got to have a few other minds involved in that.
You read books?
Yeah.
Give me some. Everyone likes, because people. You're a young guy. You're on the. You're up and coming. What books have you read that have inspired you?
I think there's one, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Really old book.
Everyone mentions. I read it too, though.
It's an old book.
Carnegie, right?
Yeah, but it stands the test of time. Really, humans evolve. It takes a long time. The stuff in there is very relevant. I think another one is, it's called 48 Laws of Power. I might be missing the number.
No, it's 48. Yeah. That's with my man. His last name's Green like me.
Yeah.
I know.
That's on the tip of my tongue.
Robert Green.
Robert Green.
Yeah.
He bumps out some really, really good stuff. I highly suggest that book. It really makes you think about kind of the things you do daily.
Right.
It's like, hey.
Like it all matters.
It all matters. The things you say, how you say it, facial expressions, everything. It's so important.
Give me one more.
Let's see here.
Everyone talks about blue ocean strategy, or there's one that I read called Rework.
Mm-hmm.
That's a book that Wallow267 put me on, and he talks about like do it and then figure out as you're doing it.
Yeah. I would actually throw out a name because he has a lot of stuff.
Sure.
Gary Vee.
I said use some Gary Vee stuff.
No, you sent me
so I'm gonna give you one
document.
I'm gonna give you one of the Gary Vee quotes that I like. And there's a ton of them, but one of them is document, don't create. So a lot of times people get so caught up in wanting to create content. Just document your journey, because then when you look back, you'll see where you started versus where you're eventually going. So that's good stuff, man. So again, Hunter, we're going to leave his information. This is the Scout Business Podcast. If you want to see more content like this, like, share, comment, subscribe. Also, support us. This is the Aqua de Geo. This one's discontinued, but I got the new version that's going to be on the site. We have a discovery set. Go to scoutfragrance.com. Buy a travel size decant. Free shipping on orders over 100. And I got the code TY10. Save 10% off your order. So I got a small business. That's how I ended up getting a hold of Hunter. But a lot of people are charging for this information, but you guys have a whole ecosystem that can help businesses out. And then maybe not the traditional way, like the chase. Like, what would you say would be like some of the issues that the chases, or again, I'm not knocking them, but I'm just saying, like, what are some of the things that limit them from being able to help small businesses that you guys can kind of maneuver around?
Yeah, 1 years in business, of course, huge one. Obviously, FICO score. Another one lower, and also we're a government guaranteed lender, which means, we have to assess risk and make the right calls to protect, our organization and the borrower too. We don't want to give them something that they can't fully chew.
But at least you guys have an ecosystem that businesses can, or aspiring businesses can reach out to get their structure together.
Exactly.
So that makes sense. Like, you guys aren't just giving out loans. You guys actually have everything in play, so they can do things the right way to get to the point where they can get funding.
Exactly.
See, that's a gem right there.
Yeah.
So, man, I appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be on the Scout Business Podcast. Look for Hunter. He's on the up and coming. LinkedIn, Instagram. We're going to put his information in. Scout Business Podcast. Let's get it.